Okay. So thank you for having us. My name is Yelena Melnichenko. I work with Brian. I know Brian's really supporting your school and has been supporting the school for a couple of years now. And I've been working with mostly secondary schools, even though now you guys are in middle school. So that's kind of cool. So we are going to do a presentation on Pear Deck. And the idea with Pear Deck, I know that some of you might have sat through a Nearpod presentation yesterday. So very similar similar tools. Pear Deck, Nearpod. There's also another one if you've seen, we've done professional development on Smart Learning Suite Online, or what we call Smart Online, the same idea. So all of those three type of presentation tools, what they do is they take your presentation, and with obviously as a teacher adding elements to it, you can make the presentations interactive. And so idea with all of it is you are able to interact with students. Students are able to answer questions on their devices. Students are able to share their thinking with you on their devices. And you as a teacher can see what students are writing, drawing, typing, choosing. So this is great in face-to-face instruction, but it's really great for remote instruction because it's kind of hard sometimes for us to really know what students are thinking or even doing, especially if they have their videos off. You know, you don't really even know if the students are being engaged in your lesson.
Mhm.
So with Peer Deck, like the other tools, every student is given an opportunity to answer a question, not just the ones that raise their hand. And therefore, you can really see from the back end if the students are doing what you ask them to do and what they're thinking when they're doing it, you know, so you can really get to understand. Um, so the reason why we're doing a presentation on Pear Deck, just so you are aware, we do have paid licenses for Pear Deck. We have bought it for this year for every teacher in our district. So unlike Nearpod, where you could only use the free version, with Pear Deck, you would be able to use all of it. And Pear Deck is very easily integrated with Google Slides, and that's what we're going to show you today. Smart Online, we also have paid versions. So if you are interested in that, you could take an online course. Check out True North Logic for that. So here what we have is we have a presentation. This is a Google slide presentation with different types of examples. And so what we're going to do today is two things. I'm going to show you how I can get Peer Deck, how I can take the slides and make them interactive, and then Brian is going to, in the second half of the session, actually do the presentation with you when we are students and Brian is the facilitator. And that way we can kind of see, okay, Yelena put these questions in. What does that look like in a student perspective? So you guys can get the kind of examples and experience of it. Some of you might have used Pear Deck or are using Pear Deck, which is great. And hopefully, towards the end, we could give opportunities for people to share out some tips and tricks if you have used it, or if you have questions that we could hopefully can answer. But as kind of we pointed out earlier, don't feel like this one session, if this is the first time you're hearing about Pear Deck, if this is one session and now you're going to walk away and you're ready to go. Some people will be, and that's great. And if you're not, that's okay too. We'll do a lot more sessions, and you could come in our help hours and we could help you through it. So there's definitely opportunities to get better at it. So don't feel like you have to know everything after this session. The other just quick thing before I start kind of manipulating the slides is just to tell you a little bit about some other features of Pear Deck. Um, because of the teacher dashboard that you get when you start a session in Peer Deck, you really can see in real time what students are doing, which again is huge because you can monitor the engagement level of your students. But you could also lock student screens, and it will show you that. Brian will do it as a facilitator. He'll lock our screen so you can see a good way for you as a teacher to kind of get your kids back to Zoom if needed. um, you could add different templates and different slides on the fly. So, you have a conversation with students and something comes up and you want to ask students, you could do it on the fly, which is kind of cool. And then you could also pick student responses, specific ones that you want to share with students to look at. So it's not, you don't have to just share all the responses. There's also an anonymous feature. Ooh. There's anonymous feature also in Peer Deck, which is really nice. So when you are sharing responses with students, students don't need to know who they are, which is kind of neat. And I think more students are willing to share and write their responses because they know it's anonymous. So with that, let's get started. So let's see some examples. So the first time you use Pear Deck, because it's an add-on for Google Slides. The first thing that you need to do is just open a Google Slide presentation from your Google Drive. So here's my Google Slide presentation that I have. I created, put some images in, some questions I might have, some text. If you're a math teacher, we might do some graphing. There's a multiple choice state exam question, things like that, right? So you put a presentation together. The next step is to get the Pear Deck add-on. To do that, we're going to go to add-ons. And when you click on the add-ons, you might see the Pear Deck for Google Slide add-on. If you don't, you want to click on Get Add-ons. When you go to Get Add-ons, you probably will see Pear Deck for Google Slides. You could click on that. If not, you could also search Pear Deck for Google Slides, and then it will show up. And then when you click on it, it will ask you in this case to add it. It won't for me because I already have it. Okay, so without the Pear Deck add-on, you won't be able to do anything. So you will need to make sure that you have the Pear Deck add-on. I also have a Pear Deck with a pair. You probably won't have that at first. This is an extension. You don't need the extension to do Pear Deck. However, when you have these GIFs, like these little images, or you have things flying in, if you use like transitions and things like that in your slides, they won't be able to be seen, or even this pair and the way it's moving, unless you have the Pear Deck extension. So again, for the Pear Deck extension, let me just move this down a little bit. I just search and I just say it's called Pear Deck Power Up. Again, you don't necessarily need it, but it doesn't hurt to have it. And it's an extension. Anybody can download it, or the teachers can. And right here, it says for me, remove from Chrome because I already have it. You would just add it to Chrome if you need it. But you still need the add-on no matter what. Even if you get the extension, you need the add-on in order to do Pear Deck. Okay, so that's the first step. Now that I have the add-on, I'm going to click on add-ons, Pear Deck, and then open Pear Deck add-on. So in order for me to create the slides and make them interactive, right? I already created my slides, but I want to make them interactive. I need to have this bar open to do that. Also, this is the same bar that you will need to start your lesson. And Brian will show you that piece, but you cannot start your lesson by clicking share and giving the presentation to students. If you do that, they'll get the presentation. So if you do it like in Google Classroom, right? Like you add this presentation and make a copy for each student, they'll have it, but they won't be able to do anything interactive on it the way you want them to unless you click the start lesson and actually start the presentation. And again, Brian will show you that. Any questions so far about how to get Pear Deck add-on or how to get this bar to open?
Yes, how did you get there? how do I start the process of downloading or adding on Peer Deck? What should I go to?
So I would say open a slide presentation, any
Okay.
slide presentation that you have, even if
Okay.
it's not one you want to put Pear Deck on, but if you have one, that would be great. And
Okay. I'll
then
do.
click on the add-ons and then click get add-ons and search for Pear Deck.
All right. Let me see. Any slide. All right. Sorry, I'm just going to something now.
Yeah, yeah. So I would say just open any slide, and then because when it's a slide deck, now open one that's yours. So it's not, unless it's a view only file, then you'll need to make a copy of it. But this is my slide deck that I created. And then again, you would just do get add-on and then search Pear Deck. Okay. And then when I have the Pear Deck, because I already got it, the first time it'll probably ask you to log in with your RCSD one-to-one account. Make sure you log in with that. And then when I say open Pear Deck is when I'm going to get my bar. Okay. And this is how I'm going to make things interactive. So there's a couple things I can do to make things interactive. On my bar, there's a few things. Right here are the six type of question sets that I could ask or change my slides to do. I could add, if I choose text, it means that students will put in text. There's multiple choice or survey type questions, a number, a website, a drawing, and a draggable. And again, everything that I'm going to do, you guys will practice as students shortly. So you'll see what it looks like. I could also add an audio to slide. Now, with audio to slide, students are not going to be able to hear the audio unless you start the lesson. So the audio to slides, and it'll come up and it'll create like a little picture above the slide of the audio that you recorded. But again, the kids won't, like, if you just share the slide deck with them, they won't do, nothing's going to happen to this picture, right? Like there's going to be a picture, it's going to say audio, but that's all it's going to be. So you just want to make sure that you start the lesson correctly, and Brian will show you that. So let's talk about beginning of the lesson. Usually in the beginning of the lesson, you have some kind of SEL check-in, right? To see how's the students doing. So here's one I just found, from the movie. And like there's just the inside, what's the movie called? Is it like Inside Out or something? I
Yeah.
can't remember. But anyway, so there's like the pictures of the feelings, right? And what I want students to do is be able to move themselves to the picture that represents where they are today, right? So what I can do is I can choose a draggable item. So again, I have my Pear Deck opened. I have the slide that I want to put the question in. And then I'm literally just going to click draggable. When I do that, it's going to go into this draggable menu, and you can see there's an icon. Do you guys see that? Like a little red circle. This is the circle that the kids will get, and they'll be able to move it to the space that they want. I can change the size of the circle. I could also change the shape. So what if I want a person instead? Maybe I want a little person. I could do that. I could make multiple ones also if I want multiple draggable options. In this case, I'm going to make a person, and I'm going to make them orange, and I'm going to make it big. So the student will get this draggable icon, and the first thing they're going to do is drag to the zone where they are, how they feel that day. And again, we'll show you what that looks like from student perspective very shortly. So after I'm done and I click update the slide, it transformed it into an interactive slide. Now, right now, it's not interactive unless I click start lesson, but it does tell me that I made this a Pear Deck slide. See, there's a little pear. It tells me the kind of slide it is. It's going to be a draggable slide with a little person in it. Do not delete this bar. If you delete this bar, and you can, so if I delete it right now, that means that this is not a Pear Deck slide anymore. So be careful that you're not deleting the bars, because if you do, then it just becomes a regular slide. So let me just quickly do this again for you because I deleted the slide. So I'm going to make this orange and I'm going to put little person, and then I'm going to, can make the size bigger, and then I'm going to update the slide. Okay. So I just changed that slide into a draggable interactive activity for students. That quick. Let's go to the next slide. Next slide. So this is a science example. There's a picture, and I want my students to be able to describe to me what did they think this is, right? So in order to do that, I'm asking them a question. So really, I just want them to respond with some text, right? So to do that, I'm gonna just again look at my question types and I'm gonna click text. Now in this one, nothing really I'm gonna do other than just click on that, and it will create a bar that says students will write their response. That's it. Again, be careful not to delete that bar, leave it as is, but you're done with that question. I made it interactive. And again, we'll see from the student perspective very shortly what that looks like. I just want to kind of go through some of the examples with you. So any questions on these two that I've created? Anything, Brian, on the chat or anything?
No, I was just going to say, like, you don't really get a preview of what it looks like to the students when you're creating it. So once we put you guys in as students, you'll see how it looks to the kids.
Yeah. And there's some recommendations. You could always have, use another device or phone or even a new tab and sign in as a student as well to look at it. But the more you do these and the more you experience them as students, the more you're going to be like, oh, okay, I know what this is going to look like because I've already done it. So you'll definitely see that. So here's just some examples. Let me just show you a couple more before we run the presentations, just to see the different capabilities of things that you can do with Pear Deck. So during a lesson, let's say I have some text. And yes, we could have a lot of text, but scaffolding for kids, making it shorter, conciser is a little better. I would rather have 3 slides with the text that's chunked, right, than having all the content on one page. And in here, I want my students to highlight. So highlighting, I could just have them use what's called a drawing feature, and you'll see what it looks like. But the drawing feature gives an opportunity for students to freehand draw with a pencil. They could create lines, circles, different shapes. So it's just a freehand, but they could also type. But it types right onto the page. Where here, and again, when we run it, you'll see it. What's going to happen to your page is on the left side, you're going to see this presentation. On the right side, you're going to have a box where you're going to type your response. Where when I use the drawing feature, it kind of makes an overlay where the kids can just draw or annotate right on the page itself. So this is a great one that I use for just anything that you want to annotate, circle, things like that. And again, pretty simple. You just click on draw and then you just puts it in. And in this case, again, it's a drawing slide. Here's another example of a drawing slide. In this one, you have an image. So these are great for like political cartoons or even science, different images. And here, again, thinking, because I already kind of know Pear Deck and I know like the things that it can do. In this case, so there's a lot of colors that kids can choose from, and they can use circles to color in specific features. So I've kind of color coded these vocabulary words into the different colors. So then what I want my students to do is pick a circle that's red and show me the transportation in this image. Show me where the technology piece is in this image. Where do I see education or wisdom, things like that. So I'm going to make this also a drawing tool. You could also make this a draggable tool by making those circles the different colors. But this works for the drawing. And again, you'll see what that looks like. Here's another drawing because I want my students to freehand draw, right? I want them to graph plot these points. So I'm going to use the drawing feature here as well. And really, I just kind of, again, wanted to just show you some examples, but pretty simple. Like after you have, I think the hardest part is actually creating the presentation, right? Like putting in the content that you want the students to have. After that, it's pretty simple to just add these questions in. Because again, it's not like I'm changing anything. I already have my presentation. It's just about putting in the pieces that I want. Here's an example for matching. So there is no like matching question per se, but what I can envision here is a student taking red, right? And then moving the red to what they think the color is. So they could not necessarily, I'm sorry, move, but like draw a line. So in a sense, matching by drawing lines. So I'm going to have them use a drawing tool here as well. So you could see the examples of the different variations of type of questions, but they're all using the drawing tool, right? We use the drawing tool here for highlighting. Here's a drawing tool for circling, using pen or circle shape. Here's a drawing tool for plotting points. Here's a drawing tool for matching, right? Drawing the lines. Here's another example with multiple choice. Multiple choice are great. You're just going to use the choice. Now, again, what it's going to show up for students is they're going to see this image on the left side, and then they're going to see the choices on the right side. So I just need to know that there's A, B, C, D are the choices. I click on choice. And then I just need to put A, B, C, and then D, the letters. That's all I need to do. And then I updated them. And so this again shows that I just changed my problem or this page to a multiple choice. And then this just tells me what those choices are. So don't delete those features. Here's another example where you want to put things in order chronologically. So again, this is great for science or social studies content. Now, again, students aren't able to drag this content in different order. However, there's 5 items. So I can use a draggable feature and I can just have them drag numbers to the orders. So what I can do is go over here and say I want, and maybe I want to use these ones. So I'm going to do number 1 as my choice, right? And then I'm going to do 2. Maybe I want to make them a little smaller. And my 2 is going to be a different color. And then I'm going to do 3. And so what I'm doing is instead of having students order the content, I'm going to have them order the numbers, right? Depending on the number order. So I'm going to change this one to 4 and this one to 5. So this is ordering, putting things in order from least to greatest, from chronologically, etc. So I'm going to update this slide. And again, that's it, right? You could also put websites. So in here, this is about Forbidden City. It would be really cool if the kids could actually get onto the website and look at it. So I'm going to embed the website right in here. So I'm going to just paste it in. I already found a link. And this one is pretty cool. The kids will actually like go through and physically click on the links and see the city, which is pretty neat. So you could update that. And again, we'll see what that looks like. All right. And then of course, at the end of the lesson, we can do some reflections. Here's a 3-2-1 reflection. Now in this one, you want students to write here in these 3 different sections. If I use text, I can. The problem with text is it only gives you 1 box to type in. I want them to just write on this page. So I'm going to use the drawing feature, but I'm going to tell them to use the text feature in the drawing tool because the kids, again, can do freehand or they can type. All right. So that's kind of the content. I will say there's a couple of other things that I didn't show. So again, adding audio to slide is pretty easy. You're just going to click on the button, and then you're going to record either the content or maybe what you want students to do. So Pear Deck is really good to use during teacher pace. So synchronous instruction, right? You're on Zoom, you're going to turn this presentation on and the students will follow with you. But you could also use this presentation in asynchronous environment where you are having students at their own pace, at their own time, working through these slides. If you do that, it would be really good to add these audio to the different slides where you want students to do something. So for instance, here, I want students to use a pen and create, draw a line to match the image, right? You could actually record that. So let me just quickly do that. Take a pencil and create a line from one word to the other. Sorry, I don't know. It's like, but anyway, something like that, right? And then like you write that, you tell them what you want them to do, and then you click save, and there's the audio file, and then it clicks add audio to slide. So these are like the directions. Again, very helpful when students are doing this asynchronous, right? And again, this is what I'm saying. Like, see how you have this box? Just clicking on it is not going to get you the link. The students will need to get the link when the lesson is started. The other thing I wanted to show you too really quickly before we try this as students is the template library. Again, all of these were created by me, or I found them and I put things together, right? But you can also take pieces of presentations from the template library to add to your presentation. And in the template library, there's lesson builders for beginning, during, and end of the lesson. There's critical thinking questions, social emotional learning, and even examples from different subject areas. So, for instance, what if I wanted something at the end of the lesson? I could look and see, and I could pick, how well did you like this lesson? Maybe that's what I want, just a quick SEL check-in at the end. Maybe it's a quick learning target. And literally, I just click on it and it will show up. Now, notice sometimes the slides don't necessarily show up where you want them to. So you could, because this isn't a slide deck, you could move these slides the way you want. So I want to put it at the end. The other thing that's really cool with these slides is they are in Google Slides. So you could add it. You can get rid of these pictures and change them. You can also get rid of this content. So instead of how well did you like this lesson, how well, maybe you want to ask about the learning target. How well do you understand the learning target? Or did you understand the learning target? So you can definitely do different check-ins and different other things. So definitely check out their different slide decks, and even like, okay, I like this. Maybe I don't want the content, but I really like this picture. I can do that, right? Or this picture. I can make again, bring the slide in, use this picture, but put my entire content that works for me. And again, same thing with different subject areas and the items and the pictures that they have. Again, you could use. So that's pretty neat. With that is pretty much it. Now notice right now I exited out of the bar, the Pear Deck bar. And what if I said to you, you know what, I decided I want to make this a Pear Deck icon, or something interactive for students. I can do that by just going back to add-ons and going back to Pear Deck. Like the bar doesn't necessarily disappear. It closed out, but you could always open it back up. Nothing got deleted. Remember, these slides, they're still the way they are. I also didn't kind of mention you don't have to make each of the slides interactive. So if you notice the beginning of my presentation, you don't have a bar on the bottom. They're not interactive. So students can still see it if I'm on that page, but they're not going to necessarily do anything with it. They're just going to look at it. So with that, are there any questions before we have Brian actually present it to us as we are students so you can really see what it looks like? Now we're ready to go? All right, Brian, I think we're ready to
Yeah.
go.
I have one question. Are we able to monitor the students while they are working on the peer deck?
I'm sorry, say it one more time. My dog was barking.
Are we able to monitor the students while working on the peer?
Yeah, so you'll get, I apologize, my son is back from school and so my dogs are going crazy. So you get two ways that you will monitor, and Brian will show you those, but I'll quickly just talk about it. So one way would be the anonymous view. And what happens there is you can see what the kids are doing, but it's all anonymous. So that way, if you want to share it with students, to just kind of maybe discuss the answers to questions or elaborate a little bit more, whatever it is, you can do that. You'll also get a teacher dashboard as another window that you don't want to share with the students. And that's where the powerful piece with the teacher dashboard, not only could you see the same thing you would see on the other dashboard, but you will see who the students are. You can give them immediate feedback individually. You could also see students that have logged in but haven't completed a slide. You can see that too. So you can definitely see a lot of data
Mhm.
from the teacher dashboard. And I think, Brian, you'll show that piece too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Are we able, another question, sorry. If we're co-teaching, is the co-teacher able to see it too, or is there a way we can share it with that co-teacher? The
So
dashboard?
right now, no. Right now,
Okay.
there is no way to do that. However, when we went to the session recently, they're working on before Christmas, supposedly. They said before the new year, there will be a way for co-teachers to share their dashboard. So then, yes, that will happen. For now, the only thing you can do is I have this presentation. I shared this with Brian. Brian can now start the presentation. I don't have to do that. However, I'm not going to be able to see the teacher view. Brian will only be able to do that. So
So are they hoping that it will be one other teacher, or like there's some classes where I'm a push-in teacher as the SL teacher and also the special ed. So can they be up to 3 people or no?
I'm not sure. It's hard to say because I don't know what it's going to look like. But yeah, so we'll have to see. But even, I mean, let's start with 2, but I'm hoping that if they can do 2, they should be able to do 3, right? Like it should be kind of maybe like a link or something that would be shared for the teachers is what I'm hoping. But they didn't necessarily share what it's going to look like. They just shared that before New Year that it will be up. So we'll see,
Thank
but
you.
we'll definitely let you guys know as soon as that comes out.
Thanks.
For clarity, I'm sorry. You said whoever starts, if I prep the slide deck, but if I don't start it, whoever starts it can see the teacher view, no matter if you create it or not.
Yeah,
Correct.
whoever starts it.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'll show you that's exactly what we're doing here.
Okay.
So I'm going to start sharing my screen now. So you guys should see the slide presentation where it says getting students engaged.
Mhm.
I did not create this. This is the slide presentation she just added all the Pear Deck stuff to, but it's shared with me. So if I go down to that first slide here where she added in the draggable, you'll see it has Pear Deck on it already. So I didn't have to go do that. She created it and shared it with me as a co-teacher or just another teacher in the building, and it's already on there. So as we were talking though, I've got to be the one that shares it. So I'm going to go up to my Pear Deck, or start it, not share it, sorry. It's going to open that little window just like she had. Now I know that we've already put these questions in, so I'm not going to add any questions. I'm just going to start the lesson. So we're going to have you guys be students. This is going to require a little bit of bouncing in and out from Zoom to a Chrome tab. All right, so as a teacher, I'm just going to click here on start the lesson. I'm going to do this one as instructor paced. So as she was talking about, you could do this for synchronous or asynchronous learning. If it's asynchronous, I would want to have it student paced. But here we're going to work synchronously as a group. So I want to be instructor paced. And in a second, my internet cooperates today.
That's all I ever wanted to be. You're always so busy being jolly and merry for everybody else.
Normally it doesn't take it half this long, but my Wi-Fi is being terrible today. So it opened up the teacher dashboard for me since I'm the teacher that started it. So I'm going to just say got it here. And then you'll see there's a join code. So you guys as students will now want to join my Pear Deck. So on a Chrome tab, I'll give you a second to go do this. You're going to type in joinpd.com. So they go to this site, joinpd.com. I'm just going to, it's bigger on that other one, right, Elena? There you go. So that's the website we go to, joinpd.com, and then it's going to ask you for a code. For this session, it's FSTLXB.
And you could also do it with a link too. I don't know if Brian, if you wanted to put the link in the chat where it says give students a link.
Now I got to go back to my chat. So I'll paste that link right in there.
Make sure you're in Chrome and not Internet Explorer.
Everybody good with the join code so far? So now you'll see how it looks for a student. So I'm just going to close out that code. So right now I have it on the what zone are you in today? So that should be the slide you guys are all seeing. And you now have the draggable silhouette of a person that you can place where you're feeling. So go ahead and slide yours over.
So this view right there, this is the little window that you guys see is the teacher dashboard. This is something that you're not gonna want to show your students. You want to show the students what Brian has behind. Okay, so this is just what he's showing you is just so you can see, because
Just so you guys can see the dashboard.
Yeah.
So if you go
Because
back
here-
to your Zoom window, instead of the Chrome tab, now you're looking at the Zoom window. As a teacher, I can see where my students are placing their little silhouettes. So I get that quick view of how everybody's doing. Got somebody disgusted, so I want to be aware of that. But it's just a quick little check. You can see how everybody's done.
You could also see, do you want to click on 7 out of 8 students? So you can see, like right now we have 13 participants. But if you go up top to the blue circle where it says
Like-
7 to 8 and click on it, you'll be able to see who actually joined and who hasn't. So this is a great way for you to check. You know, you're doing your Zoom now. Obviously here we're just playing around, right? But when you're doing Zoom with your students and you have 15 kids in Zoom, but only 10 of them showed up here, you could have that conversation with your students. Hey, you know, what's going on? 5 of you, you know, aren't doing this, you know, so you can really tell who the students are that aren't completing this work. You could also see if the student is, you know, signed in, but then didn't do anything, right? So you could really monitor that student engagement.
So that's just a little peek there of what that teacher dashboard looks like for you. Let's shrink that down. So now I'm going to go to the next slide. So you would want to be on your Chrome tab now. And on this slide was where you just had a text to put in. So now this is where you'll notice you see the slide on the left, but then on the right-hand side is the Pear Deck section where you can type your comments in. So I'll just give you a second, go ahead. You don't have to worry about being a right answer or anything, but you can just enter your text.
Brian, you can do the pausing of the screen or showing of the screen on this page too.
Okay.
If you wanted to do it that way, because this is the way you'd want to do it with students.
Yep.
So
So
they don't see it.
here we had the text just for time. I'm just going to freeze your screens on you guys. So one thing that's nice with this, I can give you a little countdown. So I'm letting you guys know it's going to be a locked screen in 30 seconds and it'll count down.
That is so cool. But how did you put that up there?
I'll show you. It's from on the teacher side.
Oh, okay.
There's different controls that you see as a teacher.
Oh.
So now it's going to lock your screen so you guys can't see it. I can go in here though and look at some responses.
So now what you guys want to do is go back to Zoom. So this is a great way to lock the screens for students to get them back to Zoom so you could look at responses.
But once you want them back in
together.
Zoom, it's nice to lock it. That way they're not going to keep trying to go and you draw their attention back to Zoom. So here from the teacher view, is everybody back on Zoom? As a teacher, I have some controls down here on the bottom. So when I locked your screens, it was this button here. You can just click on it and it'll immediately lock them. Or if you hold the button down over this, it will allow you to select a timer of 30 seconds, a minute, or there's a third one. I don't remember how long it was. And then what I clicked on here, and the presentation is up. I'm using that. If I click show responses, I can now show the answers that people typed in. And this is where we were talking about anonymous. I can show this to the class and it doesn't say who put them there. So we can just look down at different people's responses and have a conversation about it. And then once we're done, all I go do is scroll or just hover down and the menu comes up. I'm going to hide those responses.
How are you able to hit anonymous again? What was that? Where was that button located?
I'm not in the teacher dashboard right now. This is just in the Pear Deck presentation.
Okay.
I just click show responses
Mm-hmm.
and it shows student responses without tying anybody's name to it or anything like that.
But if you want to show really quickly, click show responses and now bring in your teacher dashboard so you can see the difference between the two.
So on a separate, see how I have a different window here? This is my teacher dashboard in the second one. So now in the teacher dashboard, I can see who put all of them in. That's why we're saying you don't really want to share the teacher dashboard with your kids. This one will show you all the answers and stuff. I can go in and leave feedback for that student. And I can go through and, star some of them if they have a good answer I might want to share with some the people in the class. But this on the teacher dashboard, I get to see exactly what each student put in. And again,
And you
from
could
here,
also-
only
Oh,
10
yeah.
people answered. So you can give kids a prompt of, I see only a couple of you answered.
Yeah, and if you scroll all the way down, you can see who hasn't responded. So 10 out of 11 students have joined the presentation, but see right here, it says 3 not responded. So in each page that you let the kids interact with, you can see if somebody has not been working with you. It records it, which is really, again, really nice for that engagement piece to see if the kid is just getting on Zoom and doing nothing, or they're really engaging with you, and then you could have that conversation with them.
So where is the spot to do the answer?
For you on your slide?
Yeah.
So I've locked it for now.
Oh, so in other words, like if you want to give somebody a couple more minutes, you know what I
So
mean?
then I could go in and just unlock that,
And then it gives,
and then you can go in and answer the question if you missed it.
So you'd have to go back to Chrome, to that browser, to actually your
oh,
presentation.
okay. So you have
Outside
to,
of Zoom, yeah, that's where you got to make sure that when you pull them back into Zoom and then say, now you're going to go back to your Chrome tab to keep working on the presentation. So Zoom, we kind of would have a discussion about what we see, how it's going. They're doing the work in the Chrome tab.
Is this a
In
way?
your- What's that?
Sorry, you go.
I'm just going to go to the next slide. So if you guys want to go back to the Chrome tab. So this was the one where we were having highlighting. So you get to use that drawing tool a little bit. You don't have to look for the exact answer. You can just go in and highlight some text just to play around and see how it works.
And you could see, like, on the bottom, you have a pencil, a highlighter, a line, text. So pick a highlighter. On the all the way to the left, you'll see what's called a sizer. It will change your highlighting tool to be very thick or not, depending on what you want. And then you could pick the color that you want, and then you could highlight.
You've been working in here all morning, and I thought you might like hot coffee.
Why are you using multiple colors, Yelena?
I like colors.
Thank you for being there last night. No, you have a way of simplifying the truth.
So if you guys want to pop back to your Zoom window, I'm sharing the teacher dashboard again. Just so you can see as a teacher how that looks. So here I can see each student and exactly what they highlighted. It's got multiple colors going there. So you can really scroll through and see, are they getting it? Is it at the right section? Did they highlight the important information? And again, you could leave feedback and stuff if you need to there.
I went to, but you then.
All right, so back to your Chrome tab. I'm going to advance us to the next slide.
Investors, okay.
So again, this was one with the drawing tool.
Tax liability on the money.
And in this case, this is one where, yes, you want to change the color of the pencil. And you can just go circle the examples on there for transportation, Uncivilized West, the technology. So just switching the color each time to represent it.
Mm.
And you want to just circle based on the colors.
And I can see in my teacher dashboard as students are circling the different parts. So I see their work going in as they do it. So just for time's sake, if you guys want to bounce back to the Zoom window, I'll show you that dashboard. And here you can see the different student slides. You can see what they circled on their slides. And as I was saying, as they were doing that, I could see it appearing right on the slide live.
Can Can you show them the overlay really quickly for this? So if you click on, see how where it says like a number line, that's choice, and then there's a grid, click on the grid. So you can see there's different layouts. Sometimes grid works when it's very quick to see. You don't have to go through every slide. And then click on one more to the right. This is called an overlay. So this one is just a quick, it overlays all of the answers that everybody did. So you can see like, obviously for the transportation, most everybody's picking that as the answer. Where maybe the migrants, there might be 2 answers or 3, and you could have that conversation with the student. So it's a really nice feature, the overlay feature, depending on the question that you're asking.
How can you access the teacher dashboard without having the Pear Deck open?
So there's a couple of ways. Let's do, after you
Wanna do
finish
it
the
after?
presentation, I'll show you after the presentation is done, okay?
Perfect, thank
Yeah,
you.
there's a couple of ways to do it.
I'm just gonna close that one. So back to your Chrome tab. We'll just go through a couple of these more quick ones. Here's that graphing example. I know a lot of math teachers are always, how can I get my kids to do graphs and things digitally? Here's a nice tool for that where you can actually use the drawing tool, plot those points, and then draw the line to connect those. And there is a line feature that you could also use.
Great. I know. Come over here. We're in the water, bro.
Oh, hi. You know, he's still on the. You know what? Just leave it. I'll go find him.
Of course, it's in there exactly the way you wrote it.
If you didn't get a chance to finish it, don't worry. I'm just, because we're going to be close on time, going to go to the next one.
All the property.
So this was that one where you were just going to draw to match the words. And this also has the audio, so you can see what that audio looks like as a student.
So the audio, if you guys see, it appears on the bottom. And there's a
It
little
just shows a little-
microphones, a microphone that shows up on the bottom. So again, those are things, you know, as we practice as students, you'll be aware of, so you can tell your students, right? So for the audio included, make sure you click on the microphone on the bottom of your page. Or not microphone, like headphones, sorry. It looks like a headphones on the bottom.
So I'm just going to advance to the next one. Don't worry about it if you didn't get to draw those. And here's an example of what the multiple choice will look like. So you can see how those appear on the right-hand side of the screen. You just put in the A, B, C, or D. We made them easy here. You could put in more information for your choices. But if it's already on the slide, all they really need to do is pick the correct letter. If you want to bounce back to the Zoom window for this one, just so I can show you what you see as a teacher with the multiple choice questions. All I did here was I clicked on show responses. Mine says hide now. So I'm on this question. I know it's a multiple choice. I can click show responses and get a quick feedback of how's everybody doing? What are they choosing? Then you can talk with your students about, oh, a couple people might have chose choice D here. Let's take a look at D. Why would that not be a correct answer for us? When you want those quick kind of polls, a multiple choice is a great question to use. Oh, here was another one that was dragging the numbers in order. You can see how that looks. Just drag them around. You don't got to worry about if they're in the right order or not. So back on your Chrome tab for that one.
AT&T.com during our Black Friday and Cyber Monday event. Feel like you live a lot of your life online? The average person is connected almost 7 hours a day. And all that shopping, banking, browsing, and sharing can be exposed to personal information. In fact, 64% of adults.
Then I'm gonna go to the next one here.
Wonder that 26% of people have.
And this was where we had, was there a website on this one?
Yep.
So you can see how that website appears and the students can go in and get an actual view.
This is cool.
Yeah, that's something the kids would like, right? Like you're talking about something, it'd be really cool to actually like see it.
Mhm.
I'm just going to advance on for the end of the lesson. This was where we had, you could put in the reflections. I'm going to go to that one where, did you put a draggable, I think? Yeah. So this is how that draggable, you can get your quick feedback. How did students feel about the lesson? And again, as a teacher, I can view those responses and see where my kids are dragging the icon to. Thank everybody for not picking the thumbs down for this one.
So sorry, Dad. I wanted this so much for you and I let my guard down.
You gotta give yourself.
All right, so that was it. I believe I'm gonna end that session.
Yeah, and actually, let's do it from your view. I can talk you through it in terms of how to get the dashboard again. So one way is before you ending the session, let's say you closed out the dashboard. If you hover over and click on the 3 dots.
So
Okay.
everybody wants to go back to Zoom for this?
Yes, that's a good point.
Look at your Zoom window now.
You click on 3 dots and there's a couple of menu options. One is you can at any time during your session, turn the session into student pace. So you can do it during the face-to-face instruction like on Zoom, but you could also do it at the end. So maybe after the session is over, your Zoom is done, but you know that you had 5 students that still needed to finish, or maybe you had 5 students that didn't show up to Zoom and they need to finish. So you could always change it to student pace at that time and just make sure you put the link in Google Classroom. You could also open the dashboard either in a new device. So if you can't, if you don't, we suggest obviously if you have 2 monitors, that's great, right? Like you could have your student dashboard on one monitor, this whole thing on the other. If not, you could either have it open in a new window, the way Brian had it, or you can open it in a new device. So something like a phone, I could open it on my phone and then I could quickly see how students are doing and what they're doing while I'm doing the presentation with the students. So if that works for you, you can do that. But right now what we're gonna do is we're gonna end the session. Also just really quickly, if you turn on student pace, then what you will do is leave the session. There's gonna be a new option that's gonna show up. And what happens with leave the session is you leave it, but it doesn't fully end it.
Still open.
But yeah, and by the way, if you ended, you could always open it back up too, which is really cool. So we're gonna end the session really quickly. I know it's pretty much time to go, so I'm just gonna quickly show you. You want to name it something.
You want to talk about the takeaways?
Yeah, let's not talk about takeaways. I will say we're gonna do a lot more presentations. We're gonna do one during the superintendent the half day. So we'll definitely talk about other features. There's so many more features in here, but really quickly, after you end the session is really, just want to quickly show a couple of ways. Yeah, so so just click end. I don't know it's because you're doing the takeaways. Just end the session. Yeah. Okay. So right now in this presentation, if you go on the 3 lines near the start lesson, so you open up your presentation, right? You're like, oh, I know I did this. And then what you can do is you can click on review sessions on the bottom. What this will do is go to a website, which you could also do a different way and just say peardoc.com, but it will show you all the sessions that you have ran. So the 3PD is the last one. It shows you that it's closed because you ended the session. If you had it a student pace and then you left the session, it will show open as the status. But if you click on the 3 dots all the way on the right of the session, you can export data into spreadsheet. You can do takeaways. You could rename the session, do all those different things, archive it. Next to the 3 dots, that's your dashboard. So if you click on that, you will get back to the dashboard. So go ahead and click on it. And so this is where you'll be able to go back and see all the student responses, who has done them. So this is an overlay, but if you go to like the different view, like the list view, you do the list view, Brian. Yeah. And then you'll be able to see like all the responses, or if you do the little boxes, but that's a way to get into the dashboard again after you ran the session. All right. Well, thank you so much for letting us come to you guys right before Thanksgiving break. We want to wish you guys happy holidays. And don't worry, like if this went really quick for you, don't worry, we're going to do a lot more sessions like this. So just keep an eye on, check True North Logic. There's a couple of webinars in December for Pear Deck. So if this was like, wow, this is really cool, but I need more of it, definitely take those PDs. They're an hour long, but we'll do some more during the half day as well. So please, take those with us, and I think you'll get better at it. And definitely anytime you could just reach out to either of us, Yelena or Brian, and we can help you out too with any questions that you guys have.
And we recorded this session, so we can forward that on to you guys once it's done processing.